surrounding Baltimore. Don't ask him about preseason games, oh no. Stuffing things in Griffin Basso. Despite it being on the internet, he can call it what he wants, so Glenn Clark Radio. Glenn Clark Radio. Glenn Clark Radio. Duke sucks.
Hi, good morning. It is a Would You Rather Wednesday edition of Glenn Clark Radio. I'm Glenn. He's Griffin, an eclectic group of guests today. Dan Szymborski from Fangraphs. We'll talk deadline and some O's with him. Fred Manfra made a surprise return to the radio booth last weekend. We'll talk to him about it. A big win for Team Shell Shock last night in the basketball tournament as they advanced to the round of 8. We'll catch up with former Coppin State star Anthony Tarke, who was huge for Team Shell Shock last night. And also we'll make a trip to Aberdeen. We'll catch up with pitcher Michael Forret. So all that on the way on a Wednesday program. Obviously, you want me to waste breath, we'll talk about what happened with the Orioles last night. But you don't want to talk about it. I don't want to talk about it. Why would we do it?
What do you mean? I thought
There was more bad baseball. There was more nincompoopery. It's just kind of what happens when the team's not good and there's no leadership. I mean, it's just the last couple of weeks to me have been a reminder of why it was so absurd that this team, on top of all the mistakes they had already made, signing up for an interim manager for a season with an inexperienced staff was befuddling to me. Nothing's changed. I watched a little bit of the Norfolk thing yesterday. You know what was neat? Was when Adley Rutschman tube land on the base paths in AAA. That was fun. It's just a fun time. Just a awesome, super fun experience. And every day there's something new. Every day you're just like, wow, look at this thing that's happening now. Look at this base running issue. Look at, I don't know. I guess I can't be all that mad about. I mean, Stephen Kwan's a hell of a player. Like he's just damn good. I'd like to have a Stephen Kwan. That'd be nice, right? Remember when we thought we got the best player from that Oregon State team? Remember when we thought that was the case? He made a hell of a throw. He did. I mean, like, he played that ball perfectly, but in hindsight, that was like the one inning where the Orioles had something going and had a chance. And I don't know. They threw Brandon Young. It's not like they were ever going to win the game. I saw some people suggesting
it was a lefty on the mound too. So
what's that?
It was a lefty on the
true.
mound. So
yeah, that we had never heard of. Although they had been hitting lefties a couple weeks ago. I don't know what happened to that.
I think they remembered that they weren't.
Oh, right. We're supposed to be the Orioles. A couple people that pointed out maybe knowing where the season is at this point, you just let Brandon Young try to work through it and take his lumps. That it's more valuable to see if Brandon Young can learn how to be a pitcher than it is to see if you can pull him and
salvage a game,
scratch out a win. There's an argument for that. I mean, there is. That's easier to do if the manager and the coaching staff have assurances that they're going to be around next year. Like, if they still think that they're being measured by wins and losses, then they want to try to win. And it's easy for us to sort of wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Dude, come on. Like, they're not going to be back next year. But it's such a weird spot where, like, over the last couple months, we've said things like, well, you know, hopefully the next manager will want to have Tony Mansolino be a good baseball man. No, hopefully the next manager gets whoever they want. This is what happens when you fire a manager. You don't fire a manager because things are going well and you have the right people in place and it's just... You fire a manager because there are dramatic problems. And when that happens, it should cost you your entire staff. Now, that doesn't mean that there's no world in which one of those guys returns somehow or is the right fit. But the idea of like, well, maybe you do some good things with him and then he could be a part of it. No, you're hiring a manager to hire a manager. Cost you your... For Christ's sakes. That's why you don't have a lame duck manager for, 70% of your season? Because there is an argument that what's better for the Orioles is that Brandon Young, although, let's be fair, do any of us believe that Brandon Young truly is...
He looked all right at Norfolk last year.
Do any of us believe that Brandon Young is a quality Major League starter for the next 8 to 10 years?
10 years, no.
For the next 5 to 8 years?
Probably not.
For the next 3 to 5 years? Quality Major League starter for the next 3 to 5 years?
You never know.
Does anybody believe that Brandon Young is a quality Major League? And by the way, that doesn't mean he can't be. It's just that that's not the way that we view him. It would be one thing if the Orioles had a top pitching prospect and he was in this spot, then you would say definitively that it might be better for that person, that hypothetical human, to learn in this spot. It's been a while since the Orioles had a top pitching prospect. Like, imagine back when Grayson Rodriguez came up. You could make that argument. For Brandon Young, it's a little bit tougher because, like, we don't really know if Brandon Young is ever going to be a part of the Orioles rotation. But if he is, or if there's a chance that he is, you can make that argument. But that's something that happens if you hire when you fire your manager, if you hire someone, if you go out and you get Skip Schumacher, and Skip Schumacher knows that it's his show moving forward, he would have the autonomy to say, hey, look, man, wins and losses don't really matter right now. What matters is we figure out if Brandon Young can pitch. Could he be a part of this thing somehow? But ostensibly, Tony Mansolino is trying to earn a job. And maybe they've made it very clear to Tony, like, dude, we love you, God bless you, but, you're not. Nothing matters. You're not going to be the manager. But that doesn't mean he doesn't want to win.
He wants a job next year somewhere else.
Correct. So, no, he cannot prioritize, can Brandon Young learn how to pitch over winning a baseball game that the majority of us could say doesn't actually matter. And that's how we find ourselves in these situations. They'll play again because that's the way that it works. You keep playing baseball games until there are none left to be played. But I have no interest. Like, I've finally gotten to the point. I'm not yet at the point where I won't turn the game on, but I am at the point where I'll turn the game off. Like, I'm no longer inclined that I have to watch the 9 innings. When the Orioles were going through the 2019 to 2020, halfway through 2022 stretch, there were a lot of times in there where I didn't even feel like I had to turn the game on. Like, I'm not watching the Orioles. I'm watching some mercenaries that will not be a part of this thing when it matters. There were lots of times where I was like, I don't need to bother. I'm not there yet. I think that will come at some point. To be fair, there's not a lot of alternatives.
Well, we had basketball last night.
I did watch that.
Yeah.
I did. If there was like an Olympics going on,
right?
I'd probably not be watching. I probably wouldn't even turn the Orioles game.
Got the women's Euro and Copa.
It's in the afternoon.
Well, Copa was going on.
Well, Copa was. I haven't watched it. I'm not going to pretend. I did watch. That was
looks like
great stuff.
Looks like I will be enjoying some coleslaw pops.
Hell yeah! Excited about that. That's good news.
No, I'm not.
I am.
I'm not.
It should be fun.
Need Paraguay to pull off pretty big upset, I think, on I don't know, whenever they play next. Probably like Friday or something.
Well, I would say I wish you luck, but I'd be lying. I don't wish you any luck.
Don't you want to see Kyle come in any of these popsicles?
I mean, that'd be fun too, but like either way, I'm good. Like, I'm good either way. Anyway, yeah, the Orioles, they lost, but you knew that. Now, let's touch on a couple of things, right? One.
Who do you want to trade Adley to?
Oh, yeah. Well, we'll get there. Matt Wyrick did share these numbers out. Orioles numbers since June 1st. Of course, Matt was on the show last week, covers the Orioles for the Baltimore Sun. And this is a topic that I've discussed ad nauseum. Orioles numbers since June 1st. Zach Eflin, who's back tonight. 5 starts, 8.72 ERA. Ryan O'Hearn, slashing 207, 315, 331. That's your prize piece at the deadline. Cedric Mullins, slashing 182, 242, 309. And Tomo Sagano, 8 starts, 6.69 ERA. Several of the biggest trade chips are underperforming at the wrong time. That's true. You right. Which is what we continue to say. You're not getting any. You can trade all these cats, and they'll trade as many of them as they can. I know John Heyman said that, like, Charlie Morton is viewed favorably by contending teams because of his experience level. You know, until his last start, he had been pitching okay. Maybe the Orioles need to get rid of him today. Get whatever you can. Don't let him start again. Do not.
That's why they pushed him back this week.
Dude, I swear yesterday when I saw they brought up Dylan Carlson, I was like,
the pitch?
Yeah. Well, no, I really thought it was Mullins. I thought that they had a deal in place for Mullins. Turns out it was just, things continue to go great for Tyler O'Neill. Things continue to old General Soreness. Thank you for your service. Appreciate it. Appreciate it, General. Yeah. Turns out nothing going on yet with Cedric Mullins. But there's no positive trend. The Orioles have lots of pieces they can and certainly will trade, but not for anything that's going to actually make a difference. Which doesn't mean you don't trade them for whatever you can get. There's no reason for these guys, if they're not going to be a part of the team moving forward, to continue being on this team. As I'll say a million times, the only guy that you could possibly not trade is Eflin. But the rest of them, you just take whatever pennies on the dollar somebody's willing to give you. You take the bag of Utz chips that someone offered me yesterday for Tomo Sagano, and I thought to myself, I'm definitely getting the better end of this deal. You take it. Because, first of all, you never know. One of those guys could work out to be something. And 2, because even if you get nothing in return, there's no net loss here. You're not doing anything with these guys. You can't make bad trades. So you just take whatever you can get. And that's it. But you have to be realistic about it. The pending free agents aren't getting you anything of note. Nothing. If you were somehow they're not getting, there's no top 100 prospect that's coming back for any of this group of guys. I guess maybe Morton would be the one guy that you could get like an intriguing 19-year-old or something like that isn't on the radar, but you're not doing anything with this group of guys. So the question becomes, as we keep talking about, the other group of guys. Some interesting comments yesterday from Ken Rosenthal. I sent it to you. He was on Foul Territory and was talking about the Orioles and was talking about one Oriole in particular. And not to suggest that this particular Oriole is going to be dealt at the deadline, although I'll revisit that in Would You Rather Wednesday. But certainly, if you're John of Little Rock and you're banging a certain drum, might be interested in what it is that Ken Rosenthal had to say yesterday.
I don't expect that he's going to be traded anytime soon. But what I wrote about in my notes column is the idea that long-term he might not be the piece that we all thought he would be, the fixture, the 10-year Oriole. His deal is up after 27. Or not his deal. His arbitration expires after 27. So he has only 2 more years of control left. As you mentioned, they've got Basallo coming. They drafted those two guys. Only Bodine is really a catcher. Ike Irish is someone who's going to bounce around, maybe play the outfield. They don't see him as a pure catcher. But yes, Adley Rutschman, since last year's All-Star break, has not been a very good offensive player. Ran into some bad luck this year. Okay, we all understand that. But he has not proven to be the guy that we all thought perhaps he was going to be. Not saying he can't be that guy at some point. But then you wonder, okay, under the current circumstances, would the Orioles sign him to an extension? There's been a lot of talk about that over the years. Oh, got to get Adley done. Got to get him signed. Well, if he's not going to be that much of a cornerstone player for you, maybe you look and say no. And maybe in the offseason, you look to trade him then. I haven't heard that. I don't necessarily expect that, but they do have other options in their system. There's no question about it.
So, a few things in there that you react to. The first part is, well, yeah, that all kind of makes sense, right? Like, kind of. You can make it make sense. At this point, I can't imagine anyone still operating under the assumption that Adley Rutschman is going to be signed to an extension, with the caveat of, and we'll revisit it, that his value may have come down to a point that perhaps his team just says, yeah, take whatever you can get in Baltimore. Now, I'd still be surprised by that because they don't have to do a deal right now. They can give it another year for his value to perhaps get back up and maybe be more desirable. But some of the crazy numbers that we had talked about over the course of the last 2 years when it related to an Adley Rutschman, I mean, in the world where we still thought that Adley Rutschman was this unicorn, was the guy that was going, I guess maybe we thought he was going to be Cal Raleigh, although Cal Raleigh is still mostly a power hitter, not a... What's Cal Raleigh, what are his batting average and on-base percentage this season? I genuinely don't know.
It's pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, they're pretty good for sure, but are we at a point now where we just accept Cal Raleigh as a complete hitter and not just a power hitter?
He is 370 on base. His batting average is 256.
Yeah.
370 on base. 619.
Well, given the number of home runs that he's hitting,
Yeah.
it makes sense that he'd get walked a ton. So
988 OPS.
he's still not a complete hitter, but the power is more than making up for that, obviously.
Yeah.
I say all this to say, like, those crazy numbers that we had talked about with Adley Rutschman, they're out the window.
He's got 11 stolen bases this year.
Well,
That's
wild.
I know that's
That's
wild.
wild. I was not aware of that part of it. That's crazy. There's no world where I see it likely that Adley Rutschman is going to be signed to an extension. So now the follow-ups are, what do the Orioles view Samuel Basallo as? Because I think most of us are coming around to the idea that he's not really a catcher or not a full-time catcher. Maybe he could be a guy that you're splitting some time with. He could be your backup catcher on a team where you carry 3, but that still requires you to carry 3. So what's actually the value of Samuel Basallo, the catcher, versus Samuel Basallo, the bat? The Orioles seem to still prioritize the idea of Samuel Basallo catching, and so I don't know. The idea of, hey, Adley Rutschman isn't really a long-term part of the equation. Let's say in the second half he comes back, he looks a little bit more like himself. Perhaps you visit that in the offseason and you try to see if you can't deal Adley Rutschman for something. It sounds good, right? Like, it sounds like it kind of makes sense if Samuel Basallo is your catcher. But if he's not, then I'm not really sure that this does make sense. If Adley Rutschman comes back and performs, then ideally you'd like for him to be part of the solution next year with a front office that invests and does the stuff they were supposed to do last year to surround that young core of talent with the pieces that are necessary to get over the hump. But if the Orioles know they're not doing that, if they are, hey man, sorry, you thought we were going to spend, but we're just not doing that, then maybe they do. Just sort of see whatever they can get and reconfigure what they think their timeline is for contending for a championship, or maybe there never will be. This type of stuff sucks to talk about. I hope that the Orioles are planning, and the reporting has suggested that their planning surrounds the idea of competing next year. But if they're not planning on making progress, if they're not planning on being better, if they're not planning on investing, and if it's just about hopes and dreams, then all of these conversations become legitimate. If it's just, hey, we think we got some bad luck last year, but next year, boy, Tyler O'Neill, it's all going to change for him, and if that's what they're doing, then nobody wants to hear it. Nobody wants to say, like, start ripping it down again, but that would be the reality. I'd like to hope that's not the case. But Ken Rosenthal doesn't bring these things up just for funsies. It comes from somewhere. And whether that's, Adley Rutschman's camp kind of making it known, like, look, man, you kind of always knew we were going to want to get back out west, and if you guys aren't serious, then why don't we maybe speed this process up a little bit? It's hypothetical. I'm not suggesting that I know that or that anything along those lines. If it's the Orioles kind of feeling like they can't make it work with that, I don't know where it comes from that it's something that Ken Rosenthal felt the need to bring up. Because what the Orioles have done in the draft has nothing to do with, like, now you have to trade Adley Rutschman. Like, Caden Bodine might prove to be a major league catcher one day, but it ain't going to be the next year. And I am less and less convinced that it's Samuel Basayo. You need a catcher next year. So why is this a conversation? And that's the part that I find to be interesting. Let's talk a little bit more about the Orioles and what they may or may not do before the deadline. Joining us now, you see his stuff at Fangraphs. He is, of course, Mr. Dan Szymborski, and he is back with us now here on GCR. Dan, it's Glenn. What's going on, buddy? How are you?
I'm doing pretty well. Yourself?
Hey, wait, I'm an Orioles fan, Dan. Why are you asking that question? I got to come in here every day and talk about these things and, like, talk openly about whether or not there is a window for contention, or, like, I have to have these honest conversations, and then everybody's mad at me. Like I'm the one who didn't think you were supposed to spend any money in the offseason to go out and try to win and compete. Like, that was my thought process for running a baseball team. So, yeah, it's been an awful lot of fun these last couple of weeks, as you would imagine.
Well, look on the bright side. Usually there's fans of every team who are mad at me because I hate every team.
That's true.
Me and Keith Law.
That's a good point. You do hate every team. That is a great point. Dan, I start with this, right? Like, there's no conversation about should the Orioles trade their pending free agents? Sure. Of course they're going to trade those guys, but they're not going to get anything for them because they're not. None of them are performing at the moment. I do wonder about Zach Eflin specifically, and wonder if the best strategy for Zach Eflin, I guess he'll have the opportunity to make 2 starts before next Friday or next Thursday, but I wonder if the best strategy ends up being you can't really get much for him, maybe you hold on to him, extend the qualifying offer, and either you roll the dice that he can help you next year on a 1-year deal, or you get that, draft pick compensation if he does pitch well in the second half of the season and he's able to get a good contract in the offseason.
I mean, it really does come down to what the specific offers are, and I'm not privy to those, unfortunately. They don't tell me these things. I do think that you probably want to trade him, and I do think given that there's a fairly light amount of pitching available that they'll get a better offer, I think, than you probably think they will.
Okay.
Just because teams I look back at some of the trades last year, and when you look at some of the players who actually got real prospects in return, I mean, not amazing packages, but like Kikuchi got a really, really strong package for 2 months in Houston. I think Eflin does have some lure in the market. I wouldn't be against keeping him, but I would do that more in the context of extending him before the season's over, rather than the qualifying offer.
Interesting
route.
Man, you are. I guess maybe this, like, my opinion changes based on how you look. Like, he's just been so god awful this season that, like, I don't know how anyone can look at it and say we think we can get something out of that. But I hear you. I mean, like, pitching, there is a premium. I do get that thought process. I think the more compelling conversation, and at this point, the Orioles are kind of walking a fine line where they're allegedly listening to offers to everyone, but all the reports are, but they're not likely to trade anybody else. There are intriguing trade options on this team. Trevor Rogers is intriguing, and Dean Kramer is intriguing, and Felix Bautista is very intriguing. I understand the thought is you're going to need pitching if you try to win. You're going to try to win next year, but I am so befuddled, Dan, as to whether they're going to try to win next year. Like, I don't know how to we thought they were going to do that last year with new ownership and money to spend, and they didn't. So why am I to assume that they're going to do something different next year and suddenly invest heavily? And if they're not, then should they be looking at moving guys that are also under control for another year or two?
I don't know if this counts as looking on the bright side, but if they're unable or unwilling to invest in pitching, they're probably screwed no matter what they do, and they're simply going to become the Rockies at some point. So that's, I don't know if that was exactly the most sunny silver lining there.
Dan, God.
But I think that you look at the situation, and they are incentivized to invest in pitching, because to not invest in pitching kind of reduces, like, kills your investment in the team that exists currently. Now, of course, you could have said that last offseason, but it could be different this year. And I don't think that we should necessarily operate like it isn't, because if it isn't different, then all of this doesn't matter anyway. It doesn't matter if they keep Dean Kramer or not, or trade him for a bucket of JO seasoning. I think that they might be more willing to invest, at least on the low side, because it wasn't just that they chased bargains. They were also not that creative in a way. When you look at something like the Mets bringing in Clay Holmes to start, that's the kind of really, put your chips on the table kind of thing to do. Take chances like those. And the Orioles didn't really do that. And I don't even know where I'm getting here, but maybe I'm just not quite as despondent as you are, I guess.
I don't even know that it's despondent. Like, I mean, maybe it is. Maybe you're right, Dan. But it's more like until someone comes out and says, like, we recognize that we screwed up. And every time anyone within the leadership of all they talk about is the injuries, right? Like, as if, if they only had a reasonable amount of injuries, this would be a team that would be competing for a championship, which is absurd. Like, it's nonsense to think that the story is the injury. And I think that's the frustrating part, is that, like, it really makes you, if what you were hearing publicly was, hey, we goofed. We realized we fell short of what we needed to do, and we are going to correct that, then there'd be way more of a thought to me like, okay, yeah, absolutely. But if the thought is, well, we just run the same group of guys back out there next year and find the next Tomo Sagano and the next Tyler O'Neill to sign in the offseason, then what is the point of any of this? Like, what are you doing here?
Well, I guess, again, the good, not so good point is that in 2025, who admits doing something wrong ever?
That's a fair point. Yeah, that's
the best you ever get is someone saying, I take full responsibility, but which always means no responsibility. Any sphere of life, someone says they're going to take full responsibility. They never actually follow it up with something that, some consequence for them or something they're going to change. It's mostly like, well, I said I take responsibility, and that's all I had to do, right?
So let's do it this way, Dan. Paint for me or draw for me the roadmap. What is the roadmap between now and next year for the Orioles to have figured their way back into contending to legitimately be a championship contender?
Well, I think on one side, you do expect the offense to be better than it was this year. I think there is some natural bounce back there. I look at the Jays last year. People were too down on where they were because they were struggling. I think that generally the offense is in a fundamentally okay place. So that is not a big worry. And
can I just, do you really, like, because I would tell you that to me is actually the most, like, I knew the pitching wasn't good coming into the year. So the pitching not being good is, that doesn't surprise me at all. I really am quite concerned about the core of young players not looking like a champion, young position players not looking at all like a championship core of players. Like this looks like a group of guys. I get that, like, they're not horrible, but they need, like, some of these guys. They need Gunnar Henderson to be an MVP candidate. They need Adley Rutschman to obviously be good at baseball. Jackson Holliday's made some strides, but is still, a 300 on base percentage guy. Like, I really am genuinely quite concerned about the offense.
I mean, from a projection standpoint, they still look fine.
Okay.
I guess this is one of those things where if the offense doesn't work, then there's probably nothing they can do anyway. I think it's a little like you've jumped from the plane in a parachute. At that point, you probably shouldn't worry too much because if the parachute doesn't work,
you're just going to be dead, right?
It doesn't matter anyway. Yeah. So it's like the last thing you have to worry about at that point. Because I don't think they could rebuild the pitching and put a whole new offense on the field in an offseason. But if you go into the season with at least the operational knowledge that the offense would bounce back and you would see, because there's been a lot of young players that have been disappointing, but not disappointing in a way where you say, oh, well, they're done, we put a fork in them. If you do spend in pitching, or you do spend on pitching this season, not sure they will, obviously, there is, some upside there because the Orioles pitching has been lousy. And I think coming into the season, a lot of people expected that. I know the projections were very down on it. But they've been lousy and unlucky, which is kind of not a good combination to have. They haven't been fortunate at all with say, Grayson Rodriguez this year. There have been a lot of things that have gone wrong. And on average, you expect kind of middling luck. So I think you can still put, a 92, 93 win team on the field. But, I mean, there are some serious questions that I don't have the answer to right now, unfortunately.
This is why I'm in this place. This is why I believe I'm despondent, is because I keep looking at it and saying, I am really, really struggling with this. Like, I am just struggling to believe that there's a world where you're back in championship contention a year from now. And if you're not, then like yesterday when Ken Rosenthal out of nowhere brings up the idea of trading Adley Rutschman at the end of the year, I find myself saying, well, like, I guess, like, you don't want to trade him right now because he's got his value so depleted, but if he does build his value back up in the second half of the year when he returns, then why do you want to trade him? Don't you want Adley Rutschman to be a part of this thing as you try to win? But then I say the next line out of my mouth is, but if you're not going to do the things necessary in order to win, then I don't know. I guess trade him when you can get the most for. Like, that's where we are with this conversation.
But again, I think it comes down to who is actually being offered in return. You wouldn't trade Rutschman for
just for the
some
sake,
team's number 13 prospect.
Right.
And unfortunately, those are one of the things that as even as a journalist, you're not privy to unless they want to share it. And
Right.
one thing I can assure everyone is that anytime a baseball team shares something with me that isn't private, they have a reason for doing that.
100%.
So never trust anybody at any time for anything. That's the wholesome way I look at humanity.
This is God. We sound like nihilists right now.
Hey, I've always been the Slytherin saber patrician.
Yeah, man.
You have to get Eno for happiness. You come to me for the darkness.
That's a good point. I do. You're so right about that. All right, so let me just present the hypothetical. I think John Heyman threw out Mick Abel and Gene Cabrera from the Phillies for Felix Bautista. Would you make that trade?
I don't think so. I wouldn't. I'm pretty open to trading relievers, but I just go up and down about Mick Abel. He was a first round pick, but he's been so up and down. I look back at last year and I think that could happen again. I don't think I would do that trade, but that could be wrong. I might just be being really hard on him.
Would you, if there was a trade that provided a potential viable starting pitching option for next year, would that be the type of thing that you would explore in a Felix Bautista deal?
Yeah, if it's someone who I'm comfortable with, that it's not like a lottery ticket, then I would strongly consider that. I know people always worry about the bullpen, but the bullpen tends to be the easiest thing to get put together, the easiest thing to put together on a budget. And that doesn't mean that you're always going to have a good bullpen, but bullpens are weird sometimes. The joke I always make is that in baseball, there's always one good bullpen and 29 teams whose fans think that their team would win the World Series if not for the bullpen. I think that the rotational issues are so pressing that if you can get a real starter for a reliever, it's hard not to do that.
I tend to agree with that for the most part, but then I remember what last season was like when you didn't have a closer in Baltimore, and I say, God, I don't know.
I mean, Bautista's been, he has walked a lot of guys in his innings. That's a little scary for a closer.
He has. Now, I do, I've had actual pitchers tell me that they believe that if this is where he is at this point in his process back from Tommy John, that he's ahead of track and, by next year, I don't know, man. I don't know. I'm struggling with that. I am totally struggling with it. Dan, all of this to say, right, are there any, I'll give you the Trevor Rogers thing. Do you believe that is legitimate, that they really have figured something out with Trevor Rogers, and that this isn't just we're going to look back a year from now and say, remember when he had those 8 starts, the way that, Albert Suarez once had 8 starts that we looked at, and it made him look like he was a brilliant major league pitcher?
I think it's certainly possible because he's not a guy who's coming completely out of nowhere. He's been disappointing for a couple years. He's had some injuries, some mechanic setbacks. But I mean, you look at his rookie season in 2020. Was it 20? Yeah, it was 2020, or was it 2021? No, it was 2021. And he was very good in his rookie season. Maybe I'm just positive because I need kind of that kind of avenge of my vote for the rookie of the year because I was the one person who voted for Rogers instead of Jonathan India. So I kind of need to be right. So perhaps that's my feeling on that. But he was really good in 2021, and he hasn't been since. But I tend to like pitchers who are good at some point because it means they might be good at some point again.
I respect that, and I hope that's exactly what it is that they are finding right now. That remains to be seen. All right, Dan, what can we plug for you, man?
Oh, well, we have our trade deadline coverage at Fangraphs. And since they pay me, I always like to
100%.
plug them.
And they're good. Like, it's good content. You don't have to apologize for it. It's great content.
Well, I'm not great at selling things. I would have trouble selling selling lifeboats to someone on the Titanic. That's
rough.
I'm not a good salesman.
That is rough. At Dan Szymborski on Twitter is how you give him a follow. Dan, I don't know that we accomplished anything here. I'm actually but I do.
Well, you can say it. It tells us about the futility of life in a way.
God, man, nothing ever matters. Nothing. Remember, we're all gonna be dead soon. One day, we're all gonna be dead, and none of this is ever going to matter.
Yeah, everything is an Arby's online tweet.
Right.
Embrace oblivion. The 2025 Baltimore Orioles.
Dan, at Dan Szymborski on Twitter. Thank you as always. Let's talk again real soon. All right.
Thanks for having me.
Boy, that was bleak. And it was the calm way by which Dan was like, yeah, I don't really even think about that because, like, if they don't do this, then nothing matters. And so he's sort of expressing the same feelings that I'm having. Joe says it in the right way. Joe says, the Orioles don't need to admit that they did anything wrong. They just need to tell us they're preparing to do something more. Yeah, I mean, that's a fair point. Like, they don't need to come out. I don't need Mike Elias, like, have at me. I don't need that. I just need a commitment that we're going to do something different. That's it. It does not require you saying, this is my fault. All it requires is we have every intent to do what is necessary in order to make sure we win. We are hell-bent on winning. But the conversations that we've heard, and to be fair, we don't get to hear a lot from... But when we've heard from David Rubenstein or, Cal Ripken, who does, he's part of the ownership group, what we've heard a lot about is the injuries. And David Rubenstein talking about salary caps. And those are the types of things that don't make you think we know we need to spend. That was that one line from Dan Szymborski, though. My God, if they're unwilling or unable, and that's the important part, right? Because some people were defensive in the comments about, but the Orioles tried to get Clay Holmes. That doesn't do anything. Unable is the other part of the conversation. If they're unwilling or unable to invest in pitching, they're screwed no matter what, and they'll become the Colorado Rockies. It's a pretty matter-of-fact way of presenting it. And
you wish you could push back.
How do you push back?
Yeah.
You have to have pitching. Come back in. Talk about something pleasant. The team shell shock. That's fun. They've been playing well. They're on to the round of 8. We will talk to Anthony Tarke, Coppin legend, who's been a big part of that group when we come back in. If you missed Stan the Fan, Charles, Ross Grimsley, and Luke Jackson talking baseball earlier this week, you can find it Facebook.com/PressBoxSports, YouTube.com/PressBoxOnline, or PressBoxOnline.com/video. It's always Stan's shows brought to you by the Costa Sin and the all-new Costa Sin, now open in Timonium. Feeling sluggish, unfocused, or not like yourself? It could be low testosterone. At Game Day Men's Health, we specialize in testosterone replacement therapy to help men boost energy, improve mood, and regain confidence. Our treatments, including testosterone cypionate, are safe, natural, and tailored to fit your lifestyle with weekly injections or pellet therapy. Get started today with a free testosterone test and feel the difference. GameDayMen'sHealth.com. Game Day Men's Health, where men reclaim their game.
Make the most out of every day in your Toyota RAV4. Available in hybrid or gas-only models. A RAV4 can get you where you want to go in style. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new RAV4s from your local Toyota dealer today.
For fans of the Costas Inn, and who isn't, I have some great news. Now there's a second location to go along with 4100 North Point Boulevard. This one is at the Timonium OTB. This is Stan the Fan, and I have been a fan of the Costas Inn and Triantopoulos family for going on 30 years. They're open for lunch and dinner. Same great Costas feel, same great menu and quality food you've been enjoying for well over 50 years. The exact address on your GPS is 2200 York Road, and their phone number at the new location is 667-406-1975. If you're new to the Costas experience, get ready for a real treat. All wrapped up in a new spacious dining room in Timonium at the OTB. If you want steamed crabs, you have them, and the full menu at 4100 North Point Boulevard. The number for reservations there at Costas, 410-477-1975.
Need a trophy or award that's as unique as the achievement? Look no further than Crown Trophy. With locations in Owings Mills and Gaithersburg, they specialize in custom trophies, plaques, and medals for any occasion. From sports and academic awards to employee recognition and corporate gifts, visit crowntrophy.com today and let them help you create a lasting memory for your school, team, or business. Crown Trophy is a proud supporter of the Maryland Public Secondary Schools Athletic Association. crowntrophy.com.
The latest edition of Press Box is available now. On the cover, we celebrate the first ever Baltimore basketball player to reach the Naismith Hall of Fame as we talk to those who knew Carmelo Anthony best about how his Baltimore upbringing shaped his legendary career. Also inside, Bo Smolka profiles Ravens second-round pick Mike Green, and find our annual summer travel section with information on some of the best sporting events and activities in Maryland that your family can check out all summer long. Press Box is available for free at over 500 locations throughout the region, including 60 Royal Farm stores. Or you can read the entire issue online at PressBoxOnline.com, where you can also find great betting advice and the best daily coverage of the Orioles, Ravens, and Terps.
One of the things that's definitely wrong with this country is that this dude still has a job somehow, some way. Glenn Clark.
Back in here on GCR, you see me rocking the Live Casino and Hotel Poker Room hat. And if you've never played poker inside the poker room at Live Casino and Hotel, man, it is an unbelievable, well-oiled machine. It is an awesome place to play. The staff is phenomenal. And they always have incredible games with big winnings available and other sorts of events, contests going on while you're playing poker. It is the best place to play poker room at Live Casino and Hotel Maryland. So, obviously, we know Team Shell Shock is the Maryland Alumni team in the basketball tournament. And after another win last night over Next Era Elite, they are on to the quarterfinals, the round of 8 in the basketball tournament. They've dealt with some injuries, and they've needed some guys maybe that weren't the Maryland Alumni part of the team to step up, and boy, has this guy stepped up for them. He got to play for Juan Dixon at Coppin State. He was MEAC Defensive Player of the Year, and last night he had a double-double, including some massive buckets down the stretch in a comeback win for Team Shell Shock. He is Anthony Tarke, and he's back with us now here on GCR. Anthony, it's Glenn in Baltimore. It's great to catch up, man. Thank you for taking the time for us. Congratulations.
Hey, Glenn. Yeah, thank you, man. Appreciate it. Happy to get that win, man.
Man, I bet that felt good. I bet that felt good, right? Take me through, right? The third quarter did not go well for you guys last night.
Yeah.
What was the conversation like in the fourth quarter? How were you guys able to get things going the way that you were in order to complete that comeback?
Yeah, I think it started with Juan Dixon just believing that we could make a run. We were down 9, down 11 in that fourth for a good bit, and it was like we just got to keep playing together and getting stops on the defensive end. And I think we just stuck with that. I stayed with it. It's tough because in those moments, the games are shorter, so it seems as if the lead is bigger, but it was dug deep. We dug deep as a group. We knew we didn't want to go home yet. Now we're headed to the Elite Eight.
Hey, man, look at how that works out. For you mentioned Juan, right? Like, being a part of this with him, can you sort of take me through why this was something you wanted to do, how important he was to making that decision, and what it means for you to be back around him this summer?
Yeah, to be honest, I had my best college season with him at the helm as the head coach, and I know how much he believes in me and my ability, and just coming together in this Maryland alumni situation. I didn't go to Maryland, but I'm a
You're from here, right?
Yeah, I was a huge Maryland fan growing up. I wanted to go. It was my dream school and everything. So this feels pretty cool to be able to share it on this stage with him, knowing that he's probably the greatest Terp ever. So.
What about the part where, like, I'm sure there are people that doubt Juan as a coach, right? Like that say, well, hey, you guys didn't win a ton of games at Coppin State. I think a lot of us know the difficulty of the job at Coppin State and what you guys are up against when you're there. What would you want people to know about Juan as a coach, and why maybe they're wrong to simply look at his record in defining him as a coach?
Yeah, I mean, when you're coaching an HBCU situation and you're kind of looked at as like at the bottom of the totem pole for like D1 ball, it's tough to get the quality of player to get there and try to get wins done. But Juan, I mean, he's fiery like he was as a player. He's competitive and he believes in his guys to make plays. So I'm just grateful to be able to be in that position to make plays and knowing that he understands the game, he loves the game. And when you have a coach that loves the game that much, believes in the game that much, and believes in his players that much, special things can happen. So,
hey man, we're seeing it. We're seeing it right now. He is Anthony Tarke, Coppin legend, Team Shell Shock. He is with us here on GCR. Anthony, so much has been made about what you guys don't have on this team, or what you haven't had to this point, with Melo Trimble being hurt and Eric Ayala not being able to be out there. I want to ask you about two guys, but one is one that we know well. He's a Baltimore guy, and he is a former Terp. Daryl Morcell, he had to do it in college at one point where they just didn't have a point guard, and they were like, "Dude, could you try? Could you just try to?" What do you learn about him? In him kind of taking on maybe a little bit of an unnatural role and saying, all right, fine, things will have to go through me.
Yeah, and I played against Daryl a few times in the G League and stuff, and he's just a dynamic player. So whether, he's in that point guard role or not, like just trying to figure it out, you can see that he wants to win the game on both sides of the floor. So you give a guy like that a lot of credit because he plays really hard on both sides of the ball. And with Juan Dixon coaching, it's like, the mistakes are going to happen because things are unnatural, but he's going to allow you to play through it if you play hard. And, Daryl's one of the hardest playing players I've played with. So it works out. We're still, and we obviously want to have Melo, Trimble, and being around EA these past week and a half, like we'd want to have these guys around to kind of steady the ship. But we're making this run right now because of like grit, and Daryl is like the definition of grit. So,
were you familiar with Ronald Marcher's game? Because I will tell you, I had never heard of this young man before a couple of days ago, and my God, man, like that dude can play.
No, Ron's a special talent. I remember like our first day coming into like practices, getting ready for this thing. He was taking the same type of shots in practice, like the exact same shots. The game winner he took that shot in practice, and he just has the ultimate confidence in himself to get it done. And me and him were shooting together the day before the game, and he was like, I got something for them tomorrow, because he had a rough one the game two. And I just knew, like, a guy like that, he's talking like that, he's going to show up, and he did in a big way.
You obviously knew about what Kyle was capable of as a shooter.
Oh, yeah.
That dude.
Kyle, yeah. Anytime I had the ball at Coppin State and I'm pushing that thing in transition, I'm looking for that three-point line and looking for that guy because he's a warrior, man. He's a warrior. And what he's been able to do defensively, too, and causing havoc on both sides of the ball, he's been great. Floor spacer, he's been great. Kyle's been great. Happy to have him on the team.
Anthony Tarke is with us from Team Shell Shock. Anthony, you've obviously, you mentioned the G League. You spent time with the Bulls, like you spent time with the Warriors. How important is it to you, like playing an event like this? I'm sure that you never give up on the NBA dream. I'm sure that still exists. Like, how important is it for you to remind people, like, hey, I can still do this. Like, I should still be on your radar at this point.
Yeah, when you have a guy like Juan Dixon who played in the league and also just continues to speak into my ear even after 4 years of it being 4 years of coaching. He's like, "You're an NBA guy. You're a pro. You're elite. You're elite." And me just staying in the gym, I know what I can do, and I know that I've been on these rosters for a reason, and that's what he kind of tells me: is just stick with it, stay at it. And this stage, this is fun. I play hard. I play to win. I play on both sides of the ball, and I know the team's gonna cherish that and want to have me a part of that. So
I mean, you look the part in every. I've always said this about you, like ever since the first time I saw him. Like, what is everybody else missing? Like, it's one thing if you were like undersized and everybody was like, all right, now I can understand. I'll never understand what it is that everybody else is missing in you as a player. You guys get a few days off before you return to action on Monday night in the quarterfinals. These were obviously tough games. I mean, like, none of these were comfortable. Do you feel like, having had to grind through these three, that now with a few days off, like, you're in – do you start to feel like, oh, we can do this? Like, we could be winning $1 million here in a couple of games.
Yeah, I was driving home last night with Daryl, and we were kind of talking about how we're in the show now. We've had to grind these games out, and being able to get a couple more practices under our belt and get more familiar with each other, I think is going to be like everything coming into this next game in West Virginia, because the continuity, the connectivity, and trying to understand what Juan wants us to get done on that floor, especially offensively, just with spacing and fluidity. I think we might be dangerous moving forward. We might be pretty dangerous.
I think there's no doubt about it. Do we call you like an honorary Terp now? Like, how does this work? Like, if you guys win the thing, then do we say, like, officially everybody gets an honorary, like, Maryland degree or something along those lines? How do we handle that?
Yeah, I mean, Maryland offered me when I was leaving NJIT, and I wanted to take it. I did, but I didn't have enough time to get it done. So it was there. I was very close to being it. So I guess might as well put it all together.
I'll take that. Monday night, 6:00 against, as Anthony mentioned, Best Virginia, the West Virginia alumni team. That game will be on Fox Sports 2, playing it in Charleston. Anthony, it's awesome to watch you, like, in those moments, man, last night when, like, somebody needed to be the guy. But also, how cool is the Elam ending? Are you guys as into it as I am watching from home, or do you kind of, like, prefer there being a clock?
Yeah, it's different. We've been in every Elam ending for us has been stressful.
Yes.
It's like every basket or every possession now matters, whether you're winning or behind. But it also, if it's stressful for us, it's definitely stressful for the opponent. So you just kind of have to stick to what you know and just be calm in the moment.
Yeah.
Wow, it's intense.
You proved that. You proved that, bro. You were the go-to guy, man. Anthony Tarke, happy for you. Awesome to see you guys get some big wins. We can't wait to see you again on Monday night. Appreciate you spending a couple of minutes with us this morning, man. Best of luck in the quarterfinals, all right?
I appreciate it, Glenn. Appreciate it. Go Terps, man. Go Terps.
There you go. I love that. That's Anthony Tarke. Go now, obviously, Team Shell Shock, in addition to saying go Terps. Appreciate him taking the time for us this morning. It's okay. It's when Griffin gets back, we won't have these issues. But no, that was cool last night, right? Like, I had given up. When they fell behind by in the early in the fourth quarter, I'm like, that's a bummer. Well, didn't have Melo Trimble, didn't have Eric Ayala. They at least won a couple games. They can build off of that for the next one. And then all of a sudden, man. And I legitimately had never heard the name Ronald March in my life. Where did he play? Houston Christian? Is that where he played?
Houston Christian, and he's from, Arizona?
I had never heard of this person. It's a hell of a find, man. God. Did you see the story that Mike Loxley told at Big Ten Media Day yesterday?
I did not.
I'll try to. I don't know if I have the audio or not. Hang on a second. I should have. Yeah, hang on a second. I don't know if this works since it's not Twitter. It's on.
Gotcha. I mean, I should be able to play it regardless.
Yeah, hang on a second. I just check your messages because it's in an ESPN story, so I'm sure there's an ad at the front of it that you got to work your way through, and then you can play the video.
All right.
But Mike Loxley and a couple of Maryland players went out to Las Vegas this week for Big Ten Media Days, and like the new world of college athletics. There's I'm guessing there's very few writers in Las Vegas that are particularly interested in Maryland football.
This for me is kind of a year of what I like to call
that. The national folks that go, they are interested in Ohio State and Michigan and Penn State and Oregon. I don't even know how many local folks made the trip out to Vegas. Maybe I should have planned my Vegas trip for that. I don't know. I would have been the one. But there's just not so. There's a bunch of writers that are trying to think of like what are compelling stories they could write where they could also quote the Maryland coach. So inevitably in this era of college athletics, the wild, wild west, the new world of college athletics, that's a topic that comes up a bunch in these conversations. And Mike Loxley gets asked a question about it, and he lets on to why he thinks things might have gone poorly for Maryland last season in his answer.
Kind of a year of what I like to call vulnerability. One of the greatest characteristics you can have as a leader is the ability to be vulnerable. And I'll tell you, a year ago, Coach Locks lost his locker room. And for me to stand in front of a group of media and tell you that I lost my locker room, and it wasn't because I wasn't a good coach. It wasn't because they weren't good players, because we were better than a 4-win team. But what we had to do is we had haves and have-nots for the first time in our locker room, and the landscape of college football taught me a valuable lesson. And that valuable lesson is it's important for me, even in the midst of this change, to continue to educate our players on the importance of what playing for something bigger than yourself is all about. And I can tell you that if I've got to put my desk in the locker room this year, I will. And I expect our team to show up, play hard, and probably one of the most exciting things is if you ask me what kind of team we have, I don't know yet. And that's a good thing. And that's a good thing because as a coach, sometimes we feel like we have to have that answer. Well, I've got fall camp. I've got about 25 practices in July and August to figure it out, and feel very confident with the changes and the elevation of our program that we'll put a product on the field that we can all be really excited about.
So Mike Loxley says, I had to choose between paying young players who are coming in or reward the older players that have been through the fire, 3 bowl wins, and I tried to do both with limited resources. And that's what you get, a locker room with the haves and the have-nots. And I guess my first concern would be, why would that be different? Like, this is Maryland football. There's not – I know that now with revenue sharing, there's supposed to be additional scrutiny on any other NIL money that's spent. And there had been some stories the last couple of weeks. Some of the collectives were being told this new clearinghouse that's been set up for scrutiny of NIL deals, like every collective deal had been waived off. They're basically saying that you can't do a deal with collectives. We don't believe that collectives are legitimate any longer. And then, like, the collectives threatened to sue, and now the NCAA is like, well, maybe we got to reconsider that. And it might very well be that this proves to be toothless again, and that the alleged additional scrutiny of NIL deals is just going to go away on the top of the revenue sharing. Businesses will just be able to give players money, and schools will be able to give more money to players from those businesses, and it'll continue to look the same. But Maryland's not going to be one of those schools. They're not going to have that money to spend. So my question would be, why would it be different? If that's what happened a year ago, is that you lost the locker room over that, then why would it be different this year? And his saying is, well, I'm going to be in there. It'll be more hands-on. And, Mike Loxley, the person, as I've said a million times, I think absolutely has the personality and the leadership ability, and that resonates with guys. But if ultimately the breaking point is these guys are getting paid, these guys aren't, or these guys are getting paid a certain amount of money and these guys aren't, and that causes friction in the locker room, I don't think that's changing at Maryland. I don't think there's going to be a day where you wake up and, like, everybody's happy and everybody's getting paid a lot of money because, you know, it's Maryland football. It's the reality of the circumstances. So in trying to present an explanation as to what occurred last year, I end up finding myself saying, like, oh boy, I'm really worried that that's true.
That didn't come for you.
Yeah, like, that just sort of made me say, like, this could be the story of Maryland football for the foreseeable future. Maybe Malik Washington is just so good that he can overcome that himself. I don't know. But what I don't come away from it feeling is like, gosh darn, this is why you got to change it. This is why everybody keeps saying, like, maybe Congress can solve this. Really? Your answer is the United States government? Because the same people that say that are also the same people that typically think that we need smaller government. Like, we need government to be involved. They're the people that are begging for the government to fix college football. Like, what? There's going to be a championship this year, and the teams that are typically competing for the championship will probably be the teams that compete for the championship this year. And you'll watch or you won't watch. This is what it is. And you could say, a lot of people think Mike Locksley is on the hot seat at Maryland. And with a new athletic director, I have no idea what the new athletic director's expectations are, or what he wants to accomplish, or what he thinks football can be, or where the investment's going to be in football. That is to be determined from this new athletic director. But do I think there's a higher end for Maryland football? You guys, I've told you this a million times. No. I think this is as good as it gets for Maryland football. The system is what it is. You just try to be as competent as you can be for as long as you can be, but inevitably that's as much as you're getting. Boy, what a pleasant morning between talking about the Orioles and talking about that. We did a lot of Ravens yesterday, so everybody calm down.
We had to be negative today to balance it out.
Yeah,
we were talking about the Super Bowl yesterday, and now it's like, well, maybe the Orioles won't be the Rockies.
Maybe. Come back in. Fred Manfra was back in the booth. That's a pleasant thing. It was great to hear Fred Manfra's voice this weekend as he did a couple of games down in Tampa on the radio for the Orioles. We'll talk to him about what that experience was like coming out of retirement to call games. That'll happen next here on Glenn Clark Radio.
Driving in Maryland? Did you know an Easy Pass from DriveEasyMD.com can save you time and money? Of course you did, because you are a thrifty driver. An antenna reads your Easy Pass transponder and automatically deducts the toll from your Easy Pass account. There, you just saved money with Easy Pass, all without slowing or receiving a notice in the mail. Well done, thrifty driver, well done. Get your Easy Pass at DriveEasyMD.com.
Baltimore's Classic 5 golf courses make golf fun and affordable. All 5 local courses, Pine Ridge, Mount Pleasant, Forest Park, Carroll Park, and Clifton Park, are challenging and fun for players of all skill levels. Book your tee time today at classic5golf.com.
Summer just got a whole lot merrier at Live Casino. Win your share of $30,000 during Christmas in July. Earn entries starting July 1st. Dash in on Saturday, July 26th to be one of 50 winners to unwrap top-of-the-line electronics, home appliances, free play, and other great gifts. Go all in on good cheer at Live Casino at Erndale Mills. Must be 21. Please play responsibly. For help, visit mdgamblinghelp.org or call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Gambling can be a fun and entertaining experience, but there are risks involved. If you're planning on betting on the game at the casino or on your phone or computer, know your limit, stay within it. Set a budget and a time to stop. Remember, gambling isn't a financial solution, and it doesn't mix well with alcohol or drugs. Know the risks and have a plan before you begin gambling. For free and confidential services, call 1-800-GAMBLER 24/7 or go to helpmygamblingproblem.org.
The latest edition of Press Box is available now. On the cover, we celebrate the first ever Baltimore basketball player to reach the Naismith Hall of Fame as we talk to those who knew Carmelo Anthony best about how his Baltimore upbringing shaped his legendary career. Also inside, Bo Smoka profiles Ravens second-round pick Mike Green, and find our annual summer travel section with information on some of the best sporting events and activities in Maryland that your family can check out all summer long. Press Box is available for free at over 500 locations throughout the region, including 60 Royal Farm stores. Or you can read the entire issue online at PressBoxOnline.com, where you can also find great betting advice and the best daily coverage of the Orioles, Ravens, and Terps.
Feeling sluggish, unfocused, or not like yourself? It could be low testosterone. At Game Day Men's Health, we specialize in testosterone replacement therapy to help men boost energy, improve mood, and regain confidence. Our treatments, including testosterone cypionate, are safe, natural, and tailored to fit your lifestyle with weekly injections or pellet therapy. Get started today with a free testosterone test and feel the difference. GameDayMen'sHealth.com. Game Day Men's Health, where men reclaim their game.
Contrary to what some people believe, I actually like this guy when he sleeps. Glenn Clark, talking sports.
All right, back in here on GCR as I continue along on a Would You Rather Wednesday edition of the program. The Maryland 5-Star returns this October to Fair Hill in Cecil County. Maryland5star.us with the number 5 in order to get your tickets. It is the Triple Crown of equestrian sports and one of the biggest equestrian events in the world. Straight shoot, one of the most significant equestrian events in the world. But even if you don't know anything about equestrian, it's like a celebration of the fall in the state of Maryland, which is, I love. It's my favorite season. Fall in Maryland is the best. So get out to the Maryland 5-Star if you never checked it out before. Maryland 5-Star with the number 5.us. But what a pleasant surprise it was as on Saturday night, I had the event with Rita with the Baltimore Improv Group, and I got in the car and I put the game on the radio and I said, well, I recognize that voice. But I thought maybe I was like being deceived, and so I took to Twitter and I found out indeed that was the voice of the legendary Fred Manfra, who was doing games this weekend down in Tampa with Brett Hollander on the radio. Joining us now is Orioles broadcast legend, good guy, the great Fred Manfra is back with us now here on GCR. Fred, it's Glenn in Baltimore. It's great to catch up, sir. Thank you for taking the time for us this morning.
No problem, Glenn. I bet you thought you were in a time capsule, weren't you? Didn't you?
Well, I thought, am I insane? That's not. Fred retired. Why would Fred be? And then I just thought it was so cool. Fred, for people that don't know the story, how did this come about?
Well, Brett and I have been in touch over the years. Of course, Brett worked at WBAL when WBAL carried the ball games, and we got to know the young broadcaster at the time. Don't tell him I said this. Now he's an old broadcaster, so he's following in the tradition. But we've maintained contact, and every time the Orioles come to town, we try to get together because I try to get to at least one ball game during a series. And we were at lunch one day a couple of months ago, and he mentioned that he would be broadcasting solo on Saturday and Sunday afternoon. And so one thing led to another, and it wound up basically saying, hey, if you're working alone, maybe we can work something out. And we took it from there. We took the ball from there.
Man, Fred, were you at all apprehensive about it, or is it? Look, man, it's riding a bicycle. I've caught a million baseball games in my life. I can call a baseball game.
Really, and I don't mean to sound egotistical about it, but as you said, after you've done so many games, I might have been reluctant had I not followed the Orioles.
Okay,
having been born and raised in Baltimore and been an Orioles fan all my life. As you know, you never lose that allegiance. And I follow the Orioles day to day, live and die, happy and sad. And unfortunately, this year it's been a surprising sadness. But that would probably make me more apprehensive had I not followed the Orioles on a daily basis, and not knowing what was going on would have caused some problems. But geez, I follow them read about them, listen to it. So yeah, I was very comfortable doing the game.
Easier to do when you know you're just doing like I'm sure at this point in your life they said, "Hey Fred, you want to do like 50?" You'd probably say, "No, I'm good."
No, good. Yes, correct. One of the things that I miss most about the games is going into the broadcast booth to start a game and having Joe there, or Jim Hunter, or John Miller, and Casey, or Dr. Paul, or Johnny Goldsmith, or Tiny Tim, and having that camaraderie that you have, because you live with those guys half a year.
Mm-hmm.
But what I don't miss is arriving at a hotel at 3:30 in the morning. And of course, they don't publish papers anymore, but oftentimes you'd arrive at a hotel and the newspaper was at your door. And you say to yourself, oh my gosh, I'm kind of tired. And when you get into my age, you don't want to be doing that. But you do miss the games, and you do miss the associations you have.
Fred Manfra is with us here on GCR. Fred, the changes to the sport, right? Like the pitch clock and how that sped things up. Some of the rules change. What
I like that. That's
okay,
good.
yeah.
That's
I was
good.
as a broadcaster, I know that part of like the greatness of a broadcast is telling stories, and like
well. That does put a crimp sometimes, and I noticed that early in the game on Saturday night, I would start talking, and all of a sudden I'd have to stop. So you have to reframe your timing on what you're talking about and how you're telling the story. But I really agree with the pitch clock, and I think I told the story about Steve Traxel when he pitched for the Orioles. And I one time asked Steve, I said, he was one of the slowest pitchers, if not the slowest pitcher ever in Major League Baseball. Just look up the stories about Steve. And I asked Steve, I said, Steve, why are you so slow? He says, all I know is I wouldn't want to be watching myself on the mound. I can imagine what the fans would think when Steve would get the baseball, hold it, look, and then decide to pitch. But no, I like the pitch clock.
I would assume, what did they called him the human rain delay, right?
No, that was Mike Hargrove.
Oh yeah,
that was Grover.
That was
because Grover would step in and out of the box over and over and over and over again, and he would be forever taking time in that batter's box and out of it.
Fred, you mentioned, unfortunately, this season has not gone the way that any of us hoped that it would go. I obviously, unfortunately, you've had to call a lot of baseball in scenarios like that over the years during your time with the Orioles. What is that like for a broadcaster, right? Because I think a lot of times fans get frustrated. Oh, you're constantly you're trying to make it seem like things are better than they are, but like you got to go to work every day and be around these.
Well,
guys.
Yeah, you do, and you're a professional, and you go out there and like other guys who have a job. If you're working in a plant, there are some days when you maybe not want to go to work, but you go do it and you do the best you can. And also, if you're broadcasting a game, you don't want to be a downer for the fans. Who wants to listen to someone constantly complaining? You want to be able to portray the game, do it in an honest manner, and just say, here's the great game of baseball, win or lose, this is what's happening.
That's a very well. I appreciate the way that you say that, Fred. And I guess maybe part of that is like, if somebody's particularly down, that's not who's likely listening to the game, right? Like,
correct. Well, not only that, but if you're a fan of the game, whether it be football, basketball, baseball, hockey, you're interested in what's going on with your team, and you try to portray that through the microphone to the folks wherever they may be listening.
It's well said. You did get to see some good pitching from the Orioles this weekend. You did get to see that.
I think I brought up the point. I saw a note when I was preparing for, I think, Sunday's game, that the Orioles have had, 25 players on what we used to call the DL. Now they call it the IL. That, along with the White Sox, the most in Major League Baseball. And, of course, when you have that occur, you're going to have problems, especially with the arms on the mound. We've seen some resurgence in some of the pitchers. We've seen disappointment in other pitchers. And the name of the game, you can hit all the home runs you want. But in the end, sometimes you lose 13-12 when you don't have anybody to stop the other team from scoring.
Yeah, there is something to be said for that. That wasn't the case, obviously, with Dean Kramer and Trevor Rogers.
Right, they pitch very well. I've always been impressed with Dean Kramer.
I wanted to talk to you
about him. He's got the stuff.
Yeah.
He's got the stuff to be an outstanding pitcher, which he has proven this year lately. And Rogers looked extremely good. He looked like the guy that pitched a couple of years ago for the Marlins. And I think a lot of his problem was also physical, but also mental. And once you, as an athlete, if you've ever played any game, whether it be even game of cards, if you have confidence, that means a whole lot to your performance.
I feel like, it's frustrating as it is. It's a frustrating conversation with Dean Kramer, Fred, because I think part of the reason fans, because they know how good he's capable of being, right?
Oh yeah.
And as you say,
he is developing some consistency now. And while the conditions here were hot and humid, he pitched very well and gave 7 great innings, allowing just 1 run. And this is not a one-off. This has been of late. He has pitched very well.
You mentioned those conditions. The playing outdoor baseball in Tampa in the summer. My God. How'd you handle it in the booth on Sunday when you guys are playing at noon?
Well, I can't say we suffered because the booth is air conditioned, right. But you do have the windows open, so it's not like you're sitting in a ice box. But it was comfortable. The fans, though, it was interesting. When I first moved down here, everybody was bemoaning the fact that there's the Tropicana field. They say, we want to sit outside for baseball. We want to watch baseball. And I do remember many a night when the Orioles were playing the Rays at Tropicana Field, we'd be in the 5th inning or 6th inning, and you could see the dome illuminating with lightning flashing off and rain pelting down, and here you are playing baseball. And I know some players don't like the atmosphere there, but I talked to many a pitcher who said, one thing I do like about pitching in the dome is I know we're going to start the game and we're going to finish the game, and I'm going to pitch through without having a rain delay.
I imagine that maybe that 2.5-hour rain delay made you say, "Yeah, I'm good. I'm good. I don't miss this part of baseball."
I make no excuses. I've always hated rain delays.
Yeah.
And I always tease when Bud Selig was commissioner or with Rob Manfred, I would say one of the necessary things about a new ballpark, it must be domed so there will be no rain delays and the fans are comfortable in the stands. So Sunday when the game started, it was 95, I think 105 feel-like temperature. We were not supposed to have any rain that day. And then all of a sudden we get a 2 hour 35-minute rain delay. And the crowd that had probably been almost 10,000, which is near sellout at Steinbrenner Field, I bet you dwindled to about 2,000 when the game restarted because nobody stood around there for 2.5 hours. I don't know many people, unless you're really a rabid, diehard fan, who would stay that long at the ballpark awaiting the rain to stop.
Fred, I wonder before I let you go if I could run this by you, because we've talked a lot about, the Orioles are going to be in the market for a manager, almost certainly. They take nothing away from Tony Mansolino, who I think is a good baseball man, but it seems like they're going to be in the market for a manager. And I am so enamored with how quickly the culture changed the moment that Buck Showalter arrived. And I've argued that they should hire the manager before the season is over because I think about the significance of even that little bit of time that Buck had with the team in 2009? 2010?
Yep, I kind of agree with that because the manager, under no pressure at that time, would be able to sit back and make his own evaluation, whether he does it verbally or whether they wait, obviously, till after the season. He can see who on that field and who in that clubhouse is someone he wants to keep or someone he feels may not fit into what he has his plan for. So I agree that would be something. Plus, I think the right choice by Mike Elias. And of course, there are some stories about Mike being under pressure, which I could understand. That guy that becomes the manager will have that leg up over someone else. And of course, the situation being too is with Mike Elias's situation a little bit cloudy, or more than a little bit cloudy right now, whether his choice of a manager would be the choice of a new general manager who might replace him if in fact that indeed occurs.
This is how I feel. I mean, I feel like it would be valuable for this franchise as you try to get things turned around and get back into contention in 2026. I'd be remiss if I didn't. Go ahead, Fred.
I was going to say the tightrope now is to see who will be leaving the ball club at the trade deadline. And the Orioles have several players who could really help out some contending teams, because the Orioles, although you're a fan and you hope at the end, it's just almost an impossibility now for the Orioles to entertain any kind of postseason. And right now is a chance to kind of clean your roster of guys who will not be figuring in 2026. So we'll see what can be accomplished. They do have a great core of young players. Holiday, Henderson. You look around that ball club, and they've got some guys that will be great contributors in the future. And you just hope the right moves will be made between now and next season.
That's so well said. I should, obviously you're an Orioles Hall of Famer. Adam's going in a couple. You got a great Adam story you can tell us?
Well, I have always had a great deal of respect for Adam Jones. What Adam went through at times, I don't know if you remember reading stories about what happened in Boston, et cetera, et cetera. And the way he weathered that, the way he showed his leadership, and the way he was always positive about things was amazing. Adam Jones, he was a star and is a great, great Oriole Hall of Famer.
There's no question about any of that. We love that guy.
Also want to congratulate Joe Orsolak.
Yeah, that's a great point, right? Speaking of
my good friend Tom Davis.
That's right. Colleague of yours, obviously, and Slack, one of the great guys in Orioles history.
Right.
I'd be remiss.
Right.
One of my good friends is your nephew Aaron, who I met just because he listened to the show and he reached out one day, and I said, I know that name, and we've become really good friends over the years. So
he's a good guy. He's a good guy. I could say a good kid, but now he's becoming an old man, so he's a good guy.
We all are, Fred. We're all going that route. Fred Manfra, it was so wonderful to hear your voice this weekend. It really brought a lot of joy to a lot of Orioles fans. And maybe at some point it works out. There's a reason to happen again. That would be really cool.
That'd be great. Hey, Glenn, thanks a lot. Enjoyed the conversation, and success to you.
Thank you, sir. Fred Manfra, Orioles legend, obviously a team Hall of Famer. And someone who we've associated with Orioles baseball for a really long time. I'm telling you, man, I had no idea. I didn't know anything about it. And so I just didn't want to feel stupid when I got in the car. I'm like, what? Who is that doing the game with Brett? So I went to Twitter, and I just searched Fred Manfra, because I did. I thought it sounded like Fred Manfra. So I just searched Fred Manfra, and sure enough, something that Brett had posted earlier today popped up, and it was a picture of them. And I said, wow, how cool is that? So it's neat spending a couple minutes with Fred Manfra here on GCR. And the manager thing I keep coming back to. I feel like I'm the dumbest guy on the planet, because I'm like, how have we just been okay with this? How is it that we always know that we never want to have a lame duck coach or a lame duck manager in charge of a team until it's an interim manager, and then it's, well, you better get through the year. Like, I just don't know why we think the value of, well, you can have more candidates in play. Sure, I mean that's true, but
what was Buck was he didn't have any job period.
He was at ESPN.
Okay,
at that time, yep, he was doing TV at the moment, and that's how he became available. And he was later in the year, to be fair. And it's the thing that's a few people have brought up with me is that maybe
it was August, right?
It was August, but it was later in the year. Yeah. That's the point. Like, maybe the argument is you get through the deadline and you get through trading away all the guys, and now you know they're not going to be a part of it moving forward. And so the guys that are here are definitely on the team, and those are the guys that you want to impact, and those are the guys you want to know about more. So maybe that's the better time frame for doing it is after the deadline. And, like, I can listen to that, but I've just gotten the sense in the conversations that I've had that is not what they're doing. That they're not just trying to get past the deadline, that they're intending to do a full managerial search in the offseason. And look, if you get the right guy and he can come in swinging, then that won't matter. But the stench of this, the number of, as Ryan Ripken was describing today, fundamental issues that we've seen from this team. Just throwing the ball around. Base running blunders. Defensive, the nincompoopery. You just wonder long term, can you fix all of that in one spring training? Like, is one spring training, let's just say that the Orioles do, maybe they're not hyper aggressive in the offseason, but they're more aggressive than they were this offseason. Is one spring training enough to make you say that when the season begins next year, all of that stuff is gone? That there's accountability in place, and you're not going to miss cutoff guys. You're not going to run into someone's throwing lane. You're not going to throw to the wrong. All of that stuff is completely out of the equation. And to me, that's the biggest reason why, there would be value in hiring the manager now is, spend the next couple of months establishing what accountability is going to look like. And establishing relationships so that in the offseason you could be texting guys and checking in with guys, and you know them, and you know what you thought they needed to work on when the season was over. And they know you. And so you're not just trying to force all of this. Isn't like football where you do OTAs at some point. The new manager will have not seen these guys and been around these guys until February. But again, as Dan Szymborski said, if they don't sign pitching, then they're just the Rockies and nothing matters. Yeah. So, what are we doing here? I guess we can do Would You Rather Wednesday. People got worked up about Dan, so Would You Rather has kind of gotten drowned a little bit. I mean, we got responses. It's not like we haven't. And you can still get responses in at Glenn Clark Radio on Twitter. Facebook.com/Glenn Clark Radio. Glenn Clark Radio on Blue Sky as well. Someone who participates will receive a $30 gift card to Glory Days Grill just for their participation. Oh, you need to go back to last week and find a winner, too.
Okay, got it.
Number one, would you rather the Orioles, despite the struggles, they decide today they're signing Adley Rutschman. And he is getting a 6-year, $120 million deal.
Wow.
Or they surprise everyone and trade him for whatever they can get at the deadline right now, despite his value obviously being down.
I mean, I would rather not trade him, now when he's hurt and not playing well, and I think now is a very bad time to trade him. So, I mean, but they're giving him a bigger contract than Cal Raleigh.
Mm-hmm.
Cal Raleigh signed a 6-year, $105.
Mm-hmm. That's the point of this. That's why, if I made it, there's he's not going to get that contract.
Well, how about we let him get back this week?
Nope.
Maybe he gets a couple hits.
Tension Ryan Frazier.
I mean,
I think moving forward,
is the problem?
I think moving forward, if you don't just participate, we're gonna have the rule's gonna be that you have to eat a Bean Boozled bean.
No, that's not the rule.
I think that's gonna have to be the rule moving forward.
There's nowhere that's a written.
I think we're gonna do that. I think that's the way it's gonna go.
Now I forget what I was gonna say.
Well, maybe you should just
is the problem gonna be is this gonna turn into a Chris Davis situation where if he I don't know.
You give him money and it doesn't work out, then you're never going to give anybody money ever again.
We'll have to wait 6 years then before we sign anyone to a multi-year
These are all
contract.
the reasons why I asked the question, Griffin.
I think it's a bad question.
Right. Well, that's not my concern.
Because I don't think either of those is a good idea right now.
Okay. Neat.
But I think I'd still rather have Adley Rutschman than no Adley Rutschman for 2 A-ballers.
Yes, I think ultimately that is the correct. I think that is the correct answer. And again, in comparison to what we thought Adley Rutschman was going to cost at some point, 6/120, you're like, wow, that works
I know,
out.
and then maybe he comes back.
And that's the part that you say to yourself, maybe it works out. The ultimate reason why to me it's the answer is the part that you just said. Like this, if this organization is hung up on if one contract goes bad, we'll never spend money again, well, then you're effed anyway. This goes back to the Dan Szymborski thing. Like, if that's what it is like this one contract, if it doesn't work out, then it's Chris Davis all over again, well, then you're never going to win. It's the thing I said then. A lot of people remind me that I championed the idea of signing Chris Davis. I did, but I said in that moment, but if this is the only contract you're going to give out, then this is insane. You sign Chris Davis because you intend to spend money on other guys, that you're going to build up a core and you can absorb a bad contract. If you're not doing that, then there was no point to signing Chris Davis. It's the same thing with, and by the way, in context, like considering how inflation works and where baseball contracts have gone, this isn't even the Chris Davis contract. This is just a baseball contract. This is not terribly dissimilar. It's like there's somebody in the mentions who's mad at Dan Szymborski. This is somewhat of an exaggeration. They went hard for Burns. Fried and Snell weren't good fits, and those were the three aces on the market. Like, I wouldn't call Sagano or Morton cheap. No, that's exactly what they were. Because
that's the cost of pitching.
The cost of pitching is $20 million per. On the, to get a shaky guy, to get a guy that you're not sure about, it's going to cost you more than $20 million per. So going less than that would be called what?
That'd be, I don't know, irresponsible?
No, going less than that would be called cheap.
Oh, cheap, yeah. Okay.
That's what that would be called. If the standard price for middle-of-the-road pitching is $20 million per, and you sign two guys for less than that, that would be called...
That'd be pretty cheap.
That would be cheap. That's what that would be called.
Max Fried, not a good fit.
I mean, Mike, but Jeremy says that. Like, you can't give that you can say till you're blue in the face why you didn't sign someone. It's one of my 10 commandments for the show. It's the easiest thing in the world to do is to not make a trade or not sign someone. But the alternative isn't you're in this position because you didn't do that. When you say, well, it wasn't a good fit, well, then you're bad. These are the choices. Lord. Anyway, so
I mean, I guess we're signing Adley then.
That is ultimately the answer.
You're stuck with him though. I mean, Luke and I were talking about this with the Braves the week that you were gone. The Braves are kind of in. We were talking about it because what they're playing the Braves that week, and it was like the Orioles are. You could argue in a slightly better spot than the Braves, but the argument being because the Braves have all these guys that are untradeable. Like they don't want Ronald Acuna's on a good contract, but you're not trading him. And the guys that are on bad contracts, like Michael Harris, since they paid all these guys early, they got out in front of it. Michael Harris kind of, has hurt them. Austin Riley, you can't trade right now. Matt Olson, you want to keep. So it's
Yeah, they have to hope that those guys they
turn around.
Baseball, but they also have a World Series.
That's true.
That's
true.
They won one. The way that it works is
they haven't won a next one yet.
That's fine. You win a championship, I don't care what the next. My God, win a championship. You tell me right now what the number would have to be. The Orioles are going to win a World Series, but they're going to be bad. They're going to be awful for the next insert number of years that you won't take the trade.
So what, they win the World Series this year or next year or something?
If they win a World Series the next 3 years, but then X number of years after that, what's the number at which you'd have to think about?
For this city, 15?
I think 20. And even then, I'm not saying no. I'm just saying, God, that would suck, but...
I won that World Series.
I do get a World Series out of it. So I get a World Series, and for 20 years, the Orioles are terrible. Okay, I think I'm still taking it. I don't know what the number would be. If it was 40 years, 40 years, they don't even make a playoffs. All right, I guess I got to think about, how awful that would be, and maybe by dumb luck they could win a championship.
Yeah, but you're not going to be around 40 years, so it's easy for you. It's easy for you, actually.
No chance.
It's a little tougher for me.
Fred Manfra is 79. I'm like, he's working. He's doing baseball games. I don't know that I'm going to be able to walk, although I am. If I keep staying on peptide treatment from
Game Day Men's Health at Owings Mills, then that might change things. And should change things for you as well if you're a man of a certain age who's struggling with just feeling run down and sluggish, or perhaps dealing with performance issues in the bedroom, or stubborn belly fat, or you just feel like maybe you're low T. Sign up for a complimentary testosterone test right now. Go to GameDayMen'sHealth.com in order to get that complimentary testosterone test. You can give them a call. They've got the 3 offices, one out in Frederick, 240-931-3717. They've got a location in Columbia, 443-266-3505. But my Game Day Men's Health is Game Day Men's Health at Owings Mills, 443-264-4454. And thanks to peptide treatment, I will be around for 40 years to see it. I make no promises. That's not.
Okay, wow.
That's certainly
all right.
not what they say.
I guess I should be making my way out of it.
I should not be saying that at all. I have a better chance of being around for those 40 years. All right, number 2, would you rather? This one was the one that you threw out there yesterday. Would you rather they're going to trade one pitcher at the deadline to get back as much as they can in hopes to help the next 2 years? That pitcher is either Dean Kramer or it's Felix Bautista.
I have to trade. Man.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think you get more for Felix.
Mm-hmm. But who's more important?
I think Felix is more important. I think I just because I don't think Dean Kramer is a long-term solution to rotational issues. Like, if Dean Kramer is the solution, I mean, then they get into the Rockies. Like, that's, yeah. So, like, if I have to trade somebody right now, Dean Kramer. I'd rather trade Dean Kramer.
What if it was Trevor Rogers versus Felix Bautista? Would that change anything?
Probably not.
I think, and that's the weird part. Like, the more I thought about it, I was like,
I just don't.
I know this is gonna sound crazy. I might even be more inclined to trade Trevor Rogers than Dean Kramer.
Yeah, because like let's say I feel like Trevor Rogers has a higher upside,
right?
And that means even more likely we're not going to sign him in 2 years.
Well, I think it's also, to me, that Trevor Rogers has a higher upside, but he also might have a lower floor, right? Mm-hmm. Like, I don't know. It's easy for us to get wrapped up, and I made the comparison. We talked to Dan Szymborski. We got wrapped up in Albert Suarez for a minute. We've been wrapped up in a lot of guys for a short stretch of time.
He's the reason this season went bad.
Suarez,
yeah. As soon as he got hurt, I was like, wait a minute.
Everything will be fixed.
Wait a
minute. Just had Albert Suarez. Dean Kramer, you at least know, is kind of like a solid number 4, no matter what. That for stretches can pitch more like a 3 or a borderline 2. Rogers, if he pitches like this, he's a 2, right?
Mm-hmm.
But like, is he going to do that? I don't know. I do think that either one, that is the correct answer. I do think that as well. And the number 3, would you rather have spent the last week as the most stressed human on the face of the planet? Well, maybe not the most, but the second most. The PR director for the astronomer company.
Got it. What have they? I haven't even seen. Have they tried anything like pushback or?
They had their interim CAO put out a statement this week, but I don't know. Or you spend the next week as the person responsible for the thing that happened. Did you hear what happened at the school board meeting this week?
No.
Yeah.
What happened?
There was a Baltimore school board meeting.
Did I hear about this?
It got a little off the rails.
Graphically offensive video.
Yeah.
Oh.
In the middle of the scoreboard meeting, all of a sudden, hardcore pornography started playing.
Oh. Well, I mean, that tends to happen.
Hardcore pornography.
How hardcore?
Right in the middle. I would say, yeah. So, spend the last week as the PR director for Astronomer.
I like
or
it
spend the next week as the guy who was responsible for the hardcore pornography popping up during the school.
Well, there had to be a good reason for it.
Did there?
You watch it, it's like that movie, The Nice Guys. That was the whole point of that was the Ryan Gosling and Russell Crowe one.
Oh, that one.
Where the point was, that's one of my favorite movies of all time.
It's a random movie.
It's a great movie. It's a really good movie.
Fine.
No, it's a great movie.
It's fine.
It's actually a perfect movie.
It's certainly not bad.
And but they're trying to get there's like the smog and like the pollution stuff, and they're like trying to expose stuff, and so like at this big event, we're gonna put our messaging in the middle of this like car film, because it was like a car show that they were exposing all this at, but it was also a porno.
Ah, all right.
That all the information and like taking down the government and stuff was
what?
Yeah.
I don't remember that part of the movie.
That was the whole premise.
I don't know. I remember there being a party.
Yeah. Oh, the party was about. I mean, that's
Yeah.
great. That's a great
I don't
one.
remember what else I remember.
Where Ryan
about
Gosling
that.
swims with the
I
mermaids.
mean, I definitely watched it. I was like, this is a fine film.
Yeah,
It's fine.
So that's what this reminds me of.
Okay.
So maybe there had to be a point to.
Well, I don't think there was. I think someone.
All right.
just,
So my options are I'm the person responsible for the move.
And again, this is important. You only because I've already had people say like, oh, this is a huge moment for a PR director. How they handle this will get them like, no. You're only them for a week. You're missing the point.
I think the astronomer thing would be easy too.
Easy?
You just don't do anything.
No.
Yeah, I think you just kind of.
You're getting no.
What is
You're
astronomer? It's the.
I'm still not.
The data thing.
It's some sort of data software thing. I was like, and that's what. By the way, I said that a couple times. Like, do they sell astronomy? Like, what? What do they sell?
See that, and again, and also since if I only have this job for a week, no matter what,
I'm saying it's
then it gives me a window to take some risks.
The stress of the week is outrageous. It's out of. You're getting screamed at constantly for something that is not your fault. You still have to deal with the parties involved because they're part of the company. You still have to talk to them and deal with them, and everybody is mad at you despite the fact that you did nothing. The flip side, this guy, it's embarrassing. Everybody that was involved knows you've been watching hardcore pornography on the computer, and
God, it's like tab
somehow.
switch. God.
Yeah, that's definitely what occurred here.
Oh, okay.
Like, there's no doubt.
There's no innocence to this guy.
Yeah, I mean, I went to search for. What is he going to try to say? These are the books that we need to ban from. What the F is he going to say? He had a tab open, watching porn on a work computer, and he clicked the wrong tab, and the tab ended up getting sent out. Like, that's 100% what happened, and it's embarrassing. But then you get fired.
I gotta close a few tabs.
Yeah, you better do that. You get fired, right? Like, and life goes on. Dude, the number of times that I have been at like a baseball game or something, and I switched over to Facebook, and there was a Facebook ad or like a reel that involved like a woman wearing her underwear or something like that.
Well, you know why that shows up. I mean,
because that's my algorithm?
Yeah.
I understand what you're saying. At one point, I purchased some underpants for, I assume, Mrs. Clark, and then I was getting fed ads by that company for
creep
6 months or something like that. And so I'd be at, like an Orioles game in the press box just doing some work, and then I'd click over to Facebook, and then there would just be like Victoria's Secret underwear, on display. I'm like, okay. Quickly flip to something else. But this isn't that. This was hardcore pornography. And I think this
I think I'd rather be the astronomer.
This is where I disagree.
But this guy's fully in the wrong.
Right, so he gets fired tomorrow. Then he's got 5 days to do nothing, and then you're not the guy anymore.
Well, I mean, I just lost my job, right?
I understand, but you're not the guy after. Like, you just lose your job, and then you got 5 days.
So it's like a Freaky Friday. Like, I wake up and I'm back in my body.
You're back into being you after that. So who the hell cares?
Who's controlling my body for this?
You don't get to know that. That's the problem. You don't get to know the damage they could do.
Yeah, I'd be the astronomer PR director.
Get your answers in at Glenn Clark Radio on Twitter, Facebook.com/Glenn Clark Radio, or Glenn Clark Radio on Blue Sky. Somebody is winning a $30 gift card to Glory Days.
Because they all handled it correctly anyway. Everyone stepped down and
come back in. Make a trip up to Aberdeen to chat with a member of the Ironbirds. Today, it's Michael Forret. That's next. Glenn Clark Radio.
For fans of the Costas Inn, and who isn't, I have some great news. Now there's a second location to go along with 4100 North Point Boulevard. This one is at the Timonium OTB. This is Stan the Fan, and I have been a fan of the Costas Inn and Triantafalo's family for going on 30 years. They're open for lunch and dinner, same great Costas feel, same great menu and quality food you've been enjoying for well over 50 years. The exact address on your GPS is 2200 York Road, and their phone number at the new location is 667-406-1970. If you're new to the Costas experience, get ready for a real treat. All wrapped up in a new spacious dining room in Timonium at the OTB. If you want steamed crabs, you have them, and the full menu at 4100 North Point Boulevard. The number for reservations there at Costas, 410-477-1975.
This August, the PGA Tour's best are coming to Maryland. The 2025 BMW Championship tees off August 12th through 17th at Caves Valley Golf Club in Owings Mills. See the top 50 players battle it out in the penultimate event of the FedEx Cup playoffs. Don't miss your chance to witness world-class golf, fan experiences, and unforgettable moments. Tickets are on sale now at bmwchampionship.com. The BMW Championship, where legends take the lead.
Summer just got a whole lot merrier at Live Casino. Win your share of $30,000 during Christmas in July. Earn entries starting July 1st. Dash in on Saturday, July 26th to be one of 50 winners to unwrap top-of-the-line electronics, home appliances, free play, and other great gifts. Go all in on good cheer at Live Casino. At Erndale Mills. Must be 21. Please play responsibly. For help, visit mdgamblinghelp.org or call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Driving in Maryland? Did you know an Easy Pass from DriveEasyMD.com can save you time and money? Of course you did, because you are a thrifty driver. An antenna reads your Easy Pass transponder and automatically deducts the toll from your Easy Pass account. Learn more at DriveEasyMD.com.
Gambling can be a fun and entertaining experience, but there are risks involved. If you're planning on betting on the game at the casino or on your phone or computer, know your limit, stay within it. Set a budget and a time to stop. Remember, gambling isn't a financial solution, and it doesn't mix well with alcohol or drugs. Know the risks and have a plan before you begin gambling. For free and confidential services, call 1-800-GAMBLER 24/7 or go to helpmygamblingproblem.org.
Want to improve your golf game or learn to play for the first time? The Baltimore Golf Academy has fun, instructional programs for the beginner golfer to everyday players. The Baltimore Golf Academy can take your game to the next level. Enroll today at baltimoregolfacademy.com.
Whether your focus is luxury and comfort, convenience and technologically advanced connectivity, or sporty performance and aggressive styling, we've got the perfect Highlander for you. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new Highlanders from your local Toyota dealer today.
Coming back in here with Glenn and the other guy, Garrett, whatever his name is. You know who they are.
And indeed, back in here on GCR as we continue along on a Would You Rather Wednesday edition of the program. Don't forget that all summer long, countysports.zone will be getting you